Rarin. Oh, buddy. Are you ready for another year of torment and torture? Isn't this so much fun since we've met? How many good memories we've shared together?
See, you say torture, but honestly, I'm actually having a lot of fun with these recently.
Same, I have too. I gotta be honest. I look forward to this all the time. And so, with that said, I thought we would change things up a bit for you. I thought we would try something a little bit different. You are familiar that Yu-Gi-Oh! Has plenty of banned cards. So, we're gonna do a list of all banned cards. Every card I'm going to show you today has been banned at some point or another. Some of these cards, in fact, are still banned. So your job is to figure out which, in fact, some of these cards are still banned to this very day. Some of them may have been banned 20 years ago. Some of them may have been banned as recently as a couple years ago. So how do you think? What do you think? What do you think?
I mean, I guess we're gonna have to see, man.
I guess we'll have to see.
This card game's impossible.
Let's start with this one. This should be an easy one, right? The first one's always the easiest.
Can you show me Pot of Greed? Pot of Greed. Draw 2 cards. Yeah, it's bad. Fiber Jar. 3 stars. Flip each player shuffles all cards from their hand, field, and graveyard into the deck, then draws 5 cards. Oh my god. See, like, I want to say banned immediately because it's drawing 5 cards, but let me think about this. I'll have you know, I was telling you, I played Legacy of the Duelist, and I only use the actual like characters anime decks, and I saw firsthand of like how disgusting like draw actually was back in older days of Yu-Gi-Oh, and I know how good it is now. Like it's an experience.
Yeah, it's great.
The difference of drawing Pot of Greed versus not drawing it is like night and day. So
now you understand.
Yeah, and under that philosophy, I'm gonna say this is banned because drawing 5 cards seems like it's a little too spooky for me.
That's just that easy?
Yeah.
That's just drawing cards is the only reason. Okay. That's fine. I mean, that could be your evaluation, but I was just curious. That just seemed like, you know, that's it. I thought there'd be more to it, but is there any card that like resets the game in Hearthstone like this?
Yeah, there's like cards that like will shuffle like copies of like the current deck into your deck. There's nothing that resets the game from basically square one, because this is like actually resetting the game, right?
Essentially, the only thing this doesn't affect is the banish pile.
I guess that's also fair, but this is like there's a board too, right? So like it doesn't fully reset. But yeah, there's nothing like this in Hearthstone, I don't think. I'm trying to think. But yeah, I think this is banned.
It's still banned.
Yep.
Still banned.
Yep.
Well, you would be correct, as a matter of fact. Funny enough, this is one of the contenders, however, I think a lot of people feel like could come off the ban list. The reason for that is because it's a flip effect monster. Flip effects, as you've played modern Yu-Gi-Oh, like you understand how crazy it is. Who's going to be setting Fiber Jar in 2025, right? It's like it just... It's dumb. The reason this card actually got banned very early on. Early on, this card was sort of like a reset button. If you fall behind in the game and you feel like things aren't going your way, you can set Fiber Jar. It's very tutorable, and then kind of just get a reset on the game. Both players start from scratch, essentially. Again, aside from the banish pile, and you start over. And so that was like sort of what this card's purpose was. Honestly, I think the reason this card got banned is because it shuffles itself back into the deck as well. So like technically you can always do this, which is frustrating, but also the act of having to take 5 minutes for everyone to put all their cards back into their decks, reshuffle, draw cards again. I think it's just annoying. And so this card is still banned, I think more just out of like that principle than anything else. It's just like an annoying card to deal with. But it was actually a card that did see play in old Yu-Gi-Oh! Just because it was a nice way to, if you were falling behind, you could just get back in at any moment.
So hold on, just so I understand, this card wasn't banned just for drawing 5 cards. Was it also banned because it was like a nuisance to play with?
It's just a nuisance in the fact that, like I said, you go on this side quest to basically have to restart the whole game, right? And then it also shuffles itself back in. So at any point, if you feel like you're falling behind again, you just play Fiber Jar and then you just reset the game once again. So you can constantly keep doing it over and over again. Yeah. So, because it's not like it banishes itself, right? So you could just keep doing this over and over again. So it's kind of just an annoying card. But like I said, this card could come off, and I guarantee you it would probably do nothing in the game. So it's funny that this card is still on the ban list. But the fact it does draw 5, but both players are drawing 5. So I
wonder how much mana this would have to be in Hearthstone for it to be played. But I don't think they'd ever print a card like this. I feel like this is like a Yu-Gi-Oh only effect. Actually, I guess Magic has it. Magic has it.
In Hearthstone, though, it would all be automated if you're resetting the game. Right? So I don't think it would be that bad because it does it all for you. Where like you have to physically pick up your cards and shuffle them and like I don't know.
Here's the difference. Here's the difference. Hearthstone doesn't have cases where you just like will lose the game on turn 1. So depending on what deck you're going against, even if they've reset the game, it's not the worst thing in the world. Imagine you're playing like a control versus control matchup, and then all of a sudden someone plays a card like this, you'd be there for like 2 hours, even if it's all automated, right? I don't think anyone wants to play a card.
I guess that's fair.
Hours. Yeah.
I guess that's fair. I guess that's fair. That makes sense. I don't think anyone wants that. All right, next card.
Oh my God. Okay, I actually know this card. Oh,
do you?
Yes, Regeki actually saved me one of the duels in Legacy of the Duelist.
That's Legacy of the Duelist, though. That game's old.
Fair.
We're going by if the cards are still banned today.
Destroy all monsters your opponent. So, oh my God. So this was banned, I'm guessing, what, early on in Yu-Gi-Oh? This is a good card. It's like a free flame strike for Hearthstone.
I will give you the context. This card was one of the first cards to hit the ban list, yes. Because remember, everything on here is banned. I can tell you that. Like,
how disgusting does Yu-Gi-Oh have to be for like a free? I use free because you guys don't have a mana cost, but like a free board clear.
A free one-sided.
Yeah,
board
one-sided
clear
as well. Man, that's a really good effect. The thing is like your opponent would have, if your opponent pops off and you have Regeki, you destroy all of their monsters unless they have a back row or they have a way to stop it. But if they're using a single card on Regeki, it's still really, really good because you're at least you're 1-for-1ing regardless. And then they need that card. It's really good going second unless you just lose. How? So at this point, it might not even be power level. It's like, is the card too unfun to have in a game like Yu-Gi-Oh? It is a case. I just don't know if this is that egregious because you're not drawing cards. It's not like there's enough cards in the game, I think, nowadays where you could probably deal with this card. Oh, this is a tough one, actually.
Yeah, I thought this would be a good one to mess you up.
It was so good in Legacy of the Duelist. Like, it just wins you the game. It's so easy to win. I think it's still banned. I think it's too strong. Like, I think having a one-side board clear like this that's free, and again, with quotations, is very, very good.
Final answer.
Yes.
You were on the right track, and then you took
Oh.
a hard left into a brick wall. This might blow your mind. Raigeki is not only unlimited, or it's not only not banned, it's at 3 copies, if you can believe that. It's unlimited, and it's fine. You were right. This Yu-Gi-Oh is at a point now where Raigeki being at 3 copies is okay. And that's like insane to think about. This card actually sees play. It's a card that, because it's so old, it doesn't have a once per turn restriction. And like you said, it has just evolved to the point where like Raigeki-ing your opponent isn't even necessarily that great because either they have a way to negate it, or everything that goes to the graveyard has some sort of graveyard effect, or everything has protection from destruction or something like that. So even if, like, it's nice because if you have multiple copies of it, you can go like Raigeki, maybe they negate it. Okay, second Raigeki, that's actually like kind of cool, right? That you could do something like that. And I think it's neat that we can have a board wipe this powerful in our game, and it's unlimited. Some people might say that's an issue with power creep, that maybe that's not okay, but I don't know. I think it's cool that this card is one of the most powerful cards ever printed originally, and now it's like fine to have multiples of it. That's kind of nuts.
Fuck. Damn it. I mean, good for you, Yu-Gi-Oh. I'm so glad that your game's so powerful that this is not good enough anymore.
You know what? You wish you had a 0 cost one-sided board wipe in Hearthstone. Would that be nice?
No.
No. All right, what about this card?
Okay. Solemn Judgment. When a monster would be summoned or spell/trap card is activated, you have your life points negate the summon or activation, and if you do, destroy that card. Solemn Judgment is a good card. But again, this is the same circumstances of Raigeki, where it's like, is this that good that it still needs to be banned? Because I'm sure you could do this without paying half your life points. But how many cards in Yu-Gi-Oh actually can be that versatile where it affects all 3? That's an interesting question. You also have to set this, so it's like a delayed. It's better going first than it is second. It's still fine going second.
I will say there are other cards that do hit everything. However, I will say it's more common that they are into one type. So it might be like negate a monster effect or negate a spell effect. Those are more common because they're more narrow. Having what we call an omni negate is definitely more rare.
Okay, so, but now that you said that, are you baiting me?
I don't know. Am I? I'm helping give you context.
That's what we always say. That it's like, fucking idiot, he actually fell for it.
Well, remember, your Sword Soul, right? Your Chi Shao negates monster effects, right? Think of it that way.
Yeah, but I mean, you make a good point. I don't think the inherent narrow effects are as broken as something like this, right? The question is there something that is better than this, or has this gotten to the point where the power level isn't as insane anymore? Because I'm sure for a majority of Yu-Gi-Oh's history, this was like a turbo broken card. It probably still is very good. It's just like, are we like Raigeki, like is it at the same point where it's like, oh, it's not that bad anymore, we can probably get it off the on ban list, right?
I don't know, is it?
It's also really cool that they're that wishy-washy about it. I will give Yu-Gi-Oh credit for that. I think it's cool that like cards come off the ban list at some point. They do like reevaluate it. I wish they would maybe do it, like it would be interesting to see if they did it more often, to see how the format would drastically change, like from banning to unbanning. But I'm gonna go with this card is probably still banned. I feel like this is too versatile of an effect, and again, paying half your life points is whatever if you're winning the game from it. So it's probably too good, just because of how versatile it is. It's not.
He goes from one brick wall into another, ladies and gentlemen. This card is also fine. This card is also fine. This
is like impossible for me to really know, because yeah, this card's really good, but like I don't know what the fuck's going on in Yu-Gi-Oh right now. Like,
I don't think you can evaluate these in a vacuum, I think, just because I think it's a testament more to how crazy the game has gotten. But also some of these are tricky because like Fiber Jar, right? Like Fiber Jar is probably fine to come off, but it's more on there because it's just like a dumb card mechanically. Whereas like Solemn Judgment is fine. It's a very powerful card. You were going down the right path and then you just veered off into the wrong direction. Judgment is a trap card. It is a trap card, so it is slow. So typically how people play Judgment is they'll actually sideboard it. And so in games 2 or 3, when they know they can pick to go first, they'll bring it in and then they'll do whatever the thing is that they want to do. Think of like your Sword Soul combo, right? And then set Solemn Judgment behind that as a way to protect their board from like any bullshit the opponent might have, in addition to everything else that they do already have. So it actually does still see a lot of play. This card was banned for a majority of Yu-Gi-Oh's history because it just was really strong and Yu-Gi-Oh was a lot slower. I remember when this card came off the ban list initially, everyone was kind of freaking out because they're like, holy shit, this card is good. Like this old ban has scarred people's memories of this game for quite some time. But now it's like it's fine. It does see play, but it's not like every deck is playing it. It's situational, but it's a very good card.
Did they print another effect like this that is better?
Yes. There's actually a series of Solemn cards, as a matter of fact. So Solemn Judgment was banned. They printed Solemn Warning and Solemn Strike, which were like variants of this. They were more narrow. So like Solemn Warning would only go after special summon effects, and then Solemn Strike would only go after monster effects and like monsters that were being summoned in a certain way. So they were more limited than Solemn Judgment, but they had lower life point costs. So that was like sort of to make up for it. And those cards were also very good. Those also saw tons of play. So they made like lesser versions of it, but this is the granddaddy that started them all right here. And like I said, very iconic card. Very iconic card. All right. Well, you were starting off good, and now it looks like we're off the cliff at this point. So let's keep going.
What is this? Phoenixian cluster?
Yeah.
Marilius?
Amaryllis. Amaryllis.
Okay. What is this?
You got the first part right. It's a plant. Literally, it's a plant. It says it on the card.
Holy shit, hold on. The text is there's so much lines in this. I gotta zoom in. This card cannot be special summoned except with its own effect or with another Phoenixian seed. Or with Phoenixian seed.
You can ignore that part.
Okay. If this card attacks and it's destroyed after damage calculation. Wait, holy shit, it's a 2200. Oh, no, okay. I was gonna say, if it's like a low star unit, this is actually nutty for the attack, but if this card you control is destroyed and sent to the graveyard, inflict 800 damage to your opponent during your end phase, you could remove one plant type monster from your graveyard to special summon this card from your graveyard in defense position. Oh, so it's like literally a Phoenix plant that just keeps on resummoning over and over again.
Yeah, you got it. There you go.
Why is this banned? What is the...
I don't know. Why is it banned?
What do you think about...
It doesn't have to be.
What? Okay, you said to me that all of these cards were banned at some point, right? So is a reoccurring effect of inflicting 800 damage just that good? If it like you could recursively do it?
I don't know. You tell us.
Okay, what do you mean? I thought this was is it's still banned, not if it's banned. Okay, I'm assuming that's the reason why. If that's the case, if you can consistently do 800 damage to your opponent, if this card you control is destroyed, so it doesn't matter if it attacks, regardless if it's destroyed, you will do 800 damage, and then you can keep cycling it over and over again to. I'm guessing it does like a reoccurring 800 damage consistently, and it's like a one-turn OTK thing if you have the right setup for it.
Okay.
That's what I am imagining here.
Okay. Okay.
The question is how likely is that to happen? I mean,
Now the question is that the reason it was banned before, or is that the reason
you
it's
gotta
banned
give
now?
me like something here, man. Like, what do you mean?
I will let you know. You are correct as to the reason. That's why this card was banned. But is that too slow by modern Yu-Gi-Oh standards? Or is this
That's
like when was this banned?
How many combo pieces does this need to actually work? Like if it's like 2, then it's disgusting. Because like basically the way I'm going to imagine this is if you could do this the very first turn, it shouldn't be allowed to be played in the game. And this is also interesting because depending on when this was banned, there's more cards added into Yu-Gi-Oh, which means there might be alternatives to do this. And this card is just too scary to have on board or have in the game, so it has to be banned. So I'll go with banned.
Final answer?
Yes, this one's very difficult though because I have no idea how likely you are to do this combo, but I'm going to assume it is very likely.
It was difficult for you to evaluate, but you were rewarded because you are correct. You got it. So this card has had a very interesting history. This is a very old card. This card actually only has a singular printing, as a matter of fact. This is a very expensive card because it is actually seen play in the retro format, Edison format. It's considered one of like the best decks. And funny enough, there's only one printing of this card. And so this card is like $80 for no reason. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. That was discovered after the fact. So initially this card got printed. No one ever touched it. Then what happened was as the game aged, people figured out that there was a combo that you could continuously, as long as you got enough plant monsters in the graveyard, you need 10 of them because you have to resurrect this 10 times to do 8,000 damage. As long as you could fill your graveyard with plant monsters and set up this relatively basic combo, there was a way that you could create an infinite loop where you would banish a plant, summon the Amaryllis would blow itself up, deal 800. Banish a plant, summon the Amaryllis, it would blow itself up, deal 800, because it doesn't have a once per turn clause in its text, because it's an old card. And back in early Yu-Gi-Oh, there was no way to really abuse this. But in modern Yu-Gi-Oh, we then had the mechanisms by which to do so. So as a result, Amaryllis got banned actually only within the past like few years. It's like relatively modern that it got banned. And it's still banned just because it's an FTK enabler. So yeah, it was a very consistent combo. It was not difficult to do in the slightest. And yeah, this card just had a very interesting history throughout Yu-Gi-Oh. And it's funny that it sees play in the retro Edison format too, just because it's a good card. People realize this card's actually just good.
Wait, is it you can't FTK in the Edison format though, right? It's just
no. In Edison, it's actually just people realize it's a good recurring monster that's 2200 attack. And the fact that you can play all these other really good plant cards in Edison, you're able to just bring back this recursive thing that's very aggressive because it's 2200. It'll blow itself up, do another 800, and then you can just like kind of keep doing that and put a lot of pressure on your opponent. And by Edison format standards, that's actually quite a lot. So it's used for degenerate purposes in modern Yu-Gi-Oh, but historically people didn't really see it as a good card. But people going back to that format realized, wow, this card's actually like really good. So it's just had a neat trajectory throughout Yu-Gi-Oh's history. You're back on track.
It's interesting that the card you showed me that I didn't even know about is the one I got right, and the other two maybe like you showing me these cards before actually fucks with my brain. All right, what is this? Premature Burial. Oh my god. Who is that? Is that Seto Kaiba? Who is it?
It kind of looks like Kaiba. He's got the hairstyle.
Activate this card by paying 800 life points. Then target one monster in your graveyard. Special summon that target in attack position and equip it with this card. When this card is destroyed, destroy the equipped monster. Okay, so there's a card in Legacy of the Duelist called Monster Reborn. I'm sure you're aware of what that is.
I think a lot of people are.
That card looked really good. This is basically the same concept, except for you're paying 800 life points. I don't know how relevant the burial, killing the burial matters, because I guess you could just kill a monster instead, and I guess the card just goes back into your graveyard regardless. If this is just, I'm gonna think of this as Monster Reborn. Wait, is Monster Reborn banned?
I will not disclose that information.
Come on, what?
I feel like if I disclose that information, it will influence your evaluation of this card too much.
Well, I was gonna say if Monster Reborn's banned,
I will give you this. Monster Reborn has been on the ban list before. I will not tell you if it is still banned now.
Okay, so
your evaluation of Monster Reborn being a very good card was correct, considering it has hit the ban list before.
That means if Monster Reborn is banned, they would print this card, I'm assuming afterwards. Can you at least clarify that?
I will tell you, Premature Burial was printed 3 sets after Monster Reborn.
3 sets? What is the timeline? Like a year?
It was If it wasn't the same year, it was within a 12-month window. Yes.
Okay, so they still have no fucking idea what's going on at this point. So they're just printing it. Okay.
For context, Monster Reborn was printed in the very first set. Premature Burial was printed in the 4th set.
Okay, so I don't know if they have it. Like Hearthstone designs cards like 4 expansions ahead of time. So like by the time like this expansion would be released, they're already on the 4th set after. So they don't really know what
Yu-Gi-Oh does that too. Yu-Gi-Oh, they plan ahead. I think they work in like 2-year dev cycles, if I recall.
So that means that by the time this card was already in development, if not already finished, Monster Reborn was probably just hitting the shelves, like for the first set, maybe the timeline's a little messed up, which means they probably didn't realize how good Monster Reborn was gonna be. I mean, maybe they did, I don't know, but I'm assuming the card was just about to be banned or like still playable in Yu-Gi-Oh, which means that if they're designing that card, what would be the reason why this wouldn't be banned as well? Like, is the fact that you could destroy the actual spell card relevant? I actually have no idea how this interacts. So like if this is linked to a monster, can you target this spell?
Yes. So you can, if you destroy Premature Burial, it will destroy the monster.
Oh, because this is still in your back row, correct? Like it's not
correct.
Okay.
Correct. It's an equipped spell. You see that cross symbol. So this is like tied to that card. Where Monster Reborn, when you play it, you get the monster, and Monster Reborn's in the graveyard. They're not tied together. So yes, this is a objectively worse copy of Monster Reborn.
Yeah, because now it gives you the other opportunity of just not killing the minion. It's like you can kill the spell card, which this is worse than for sure.
But it is another Monster Reborn, technically.
Yeah, fuck, I really wish I knew if Monster Reborn was not on the ban list anymore, because this would be such an easy pick. I'm gonna go with no.
Exactly. That's why I'm not gonna give that to you. It's too easy.
I'm gonna go with no. That it's not on the ban list. I feel like at this point it's too easy to deal with the monster that was summoned from this.
Premature Burial. So Premature Burial is fine.
Unless, okay, hold on. Unless you kill your own minion and then you play Premature, like, because I'm gonna live in a world where Monster Reborn is still banned.
Okay, sure.
Because I feel like that card is fucking disgusting. So like I feel like this is like the same effect, but your opponent can interact with it post the cast of the spell. But then you could also still do the same stupid shit that you could do with Monster Reborn if your opponent doesn't have an answer to the spell exactly. So like it's almost the same card. It is worse, but it's almost the same card. Like I feel like if these two cards were printed in Hearthstone, both of them would have saw play. I'm going to assume in the world that Monster Reborn is banned, which means I'm going to go with the fact that Burial is also banned. For the same reasons that Monster Reborn was banned, even if it's a worse card.
What if I tell you Monster Reborn is currently limited in the format?
Okay. Okay, now we're cooking. Hold on. If it's limited, okay, but hold on. Why would you say that if it's... See, now I can metagame this, or I can just go with my gut. Because if you say that, I'm going to assume that Monster Reborn is a worse version... Or sorry, I'm going to assume that Burial is the worst version of Monster Reborn. So if Monster Reborn is limited, that means this card would have to be at least limited, because why would a worse card be banned? The right decision here is to say not banned, but the fact that you said that makes me believe that this is still banned for some reason that I'm not aware of. All right, I'm gonna go with unbanned. I'm gonna go with unbanned.
So it's fine.
It's not banned anymore. Yeah, it's fine. It's the question is not if it's limited or unlimited, right? It's just if it's banned or not banned.
It's if it's still banned. If
you fucking tell me this card is banned and Monster Reborn is limited, I don't understand this game anymore. But it's unbanned.
It's still banned.
Fucking Christ! See, I knew it. See, like I said it. I said, okay, whatever. Why is this still banned? How is Monster Reborn not? What?
The fact that you said it too. The fact that I'm just losing it because you said it and then you're like, no, it's fine. It's.
How is this?
I will say, okay. I will say, you're missing context for this, and that was the point, and that's why this is funny. Okay, so okay, so Premature Burial. In every conceivable way, you are correct. This is worse Monster Reborn. You have to pay life. It's equipped to the monster. You can only target your own graveyard. Remember, Monster Reborn can take your opponent's stuff too. So it has to go in attack position. So in every way, Premature Burial is worse.
Okay.
But the one thing Premature Burial has over Monster Reborn is that it's abusable. What do I mean by that? Premature Burial says, when this card is destroyed, destroy the equipped monster. If Premature Burial is bounced back to the hand, the monster stays on the board. So there are ways that you can loop Premature Burial to basically constantly use the effect over and over and over. You can summon a guy, bounce Premature Burial with an effect, Premature Burial again, bring out another guy, bounce it back again. basically making it like Monster Reborn on crack,
cool.
right? It is cool. It is cool, but it's also very abusable, which is why this card is still on the ban list, because especially by nowadays standards, there are way too many ways to conceivably bounce like a card like this back. There's a similar card to this called Call of the Haunted. That's a trap card version of Monster Reborn, but that card, it's like soul bonded both ways, where it says if Call of the Haunted leaves the field, the monster is destroyed. But Premature Burial doesn't have that line of text. So as a result of that, this card is very abusable. And yes, it is like in a vacuum worse than Monster Reborn, but because of that one key difference, this card is still on the ban list, and honestly will probably not come off.
That's just a skill diff on my part, because I didn't even think of that perspective, if I'm gonna be honest.
Sure.
That makes sense. Like, but it makes sense why. It makes sense why. But
to be fair though, you said Monster Reborn is an extremely powerful card. Yes, that's why it is still limited to a singular copy. It still sees play. It is still like considered one of the best extenders to like continue your combo in the entire game, because nothing does what Monster Reborn does better than it. It is just like the singular best card at doing that. And people love it though. It's like a card from the anime, and it's like it feels good when you have Monster Reborn. It's just a fun classic card. Okay, moving on. Another easy one for you.
Man, what is this? Time Seal. Skip the draw phase of your opponent's next turn. Banned.
Final answer? That's it?
Let me hold on.
I can tell you if you're that convinced.
Now you got me second guessing here. Hold on, let me think. Stopping your opponent from drawing cards in Yu-Gi-Oh seems pretty good. If you can somehow have this recursively, your opponent can never draw ever again, and that is disgusting. The only problem with this card is that it might be a little bit too slow, because the time you play it, your opponent doesn't need another draw phase, I guess. So I'm gonna go with banned.
This card's fine.
Oh, okay.
I will say this card only relatively recently came off the ban list. You are correct though. So in older Yu-Gi-Oh, this card was banned very early on for exactly what you said. It was very easy to set up a loop where you could recursively get back Time Seal and like Time Seal lock your opponent. That's what we called it. And there's other effects in older Yu-Gi-Oh that were similar to skipping your opponent's draw phase that, like, you know, when you stack them all together, it just kind of is super oppressive. So this card was on the ban list for quite some time. You actually pointed it out. The biggest issue with this card, by modern standards, it's just too slow. It's just like not worth it. And there's so many better things you could be doing. You're not going to waste your time on playing fucking Time Seal. Right. So this was always one of the cards that for the longest time when people would make like their ban list, like, you know, kind of predictions, people always said this card should come off the list because no one would ever play it. It's off the list. And guess what? No one's fucking playing it. So it shows that we were right. Not that it's like a healthy card, but it's just, it's way too slow to do anything. Like you see, like a singular card in Yu-Gi-Oh can generate you so many different cards that, yeah, if you skip a draw phase, it's not great. But at the same time, it's like, it doesn't matter. It's just way too slow to do anything.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Just a very old card. Yeah. But, you know Yu-Gi-Oh! And like just seeing you can't draw is obviously disgusting. So
if this was a spell card, it'd be like the most disgusting thing on the planet.
Ooh, yeah. If it was a spell, I think it'd probably still be banned, honestly. Because like there's way more you could do with a spell versus a trap. I don't know, though. It's kind of... comments. Let us know what you think. Okay, next one.
What the hell is this? Fairy Tale Snow. If this card is normal or special summon, you could target one face-up monster your opponent controls. Change it to face-down defense position. This card is in your graveyard. Quick effect. You can banish 7 other cards from your hand, field, or graveyard. Special summon this card. So let me go through each step here. 1850 attack for a 4-star monster seems pretty good. How relevant is turning a monster in a... If they're in their battle phase and they queue up an attack with their monster and you make it into face down defense position, they no longer can have the attack and it just dissolves. So therefore they just wasted their whole battle phase. Banishing 7 other cards from your hand, field, or graveyard is a tough thing to do consecutively. I'm going to imagine you could probably get rid of you could probably do this once. Why would this be banned though? This is like annoying. Like I'd be like,
that's a word for it.
Yep, I'd be frustrated to go against this. I don't know if I'm like,
that is how everyone feels.
Wow, this is an interesting one because this is the first one that doesn't outright speak like it's broken, unless again I'm not seeing something unless there's like another card that really interacts with face down defense position. But yeah, like I feel like the concept of just stopping your monster or your opponent from getting the attack is really relevant, especially in older Yu-Gi-Oh. I'm gonna go.
I will give you some context. This card is newer. This card was printed like midway through Yu-Gi-Oh, so like mid 2010s. So this is not in old Yu-Gi-Oh. This card would be insane.
Yeah, I was gonna say like in older I was literally about to say like in older Yu-Gi-Oh, I could see this being banned, but like in current Yu-Gi-Oh, I mean like 7 cards is like it's quite a bit.
It's steep. It's steep.
Once is like, yeah, okay, my opponent skips their battle phase, but I guess getting one extra draw could be the difference of you winning or losing the game. So that is something to consider if you go to your draw phase. If they can't, I don't know how they would kill you outside the battle phase, but I'm sure there's a way. Having that one extra draw guarantee, it's like Ice Block in Hearthstone. Like you'd play 2 copies of Ice Block to make sure you don't die and get a guaranteed draw, but also refresh your mana. So if this is like I mean, I wonder how good of like, is that a good comparison? Because you only get to stop one. The one monster could be the difference of you winning or losing the game. I guess, okay, so if your opponent uses a monster effect and then you flip it, does it still proc the monster effect? Or does that get dissolved?
What do you mean?
Like, let's say I use Baron, because that's the best example, and I'm targeting a monster, but then I use Fairy Tale Snow on the stack, and, or sorry, the chain, that's what you guys call it. And I flip Baron before its monster effect would proc. Does it still get the monster effect, or is it now because it's flipped, it doesn't work anymore?
In your example, there's no way that you could actually conceivably do that.
Oh, okay.
But for the hypothetical purpose you're saying, Baron, even if it gets flipped face down, the effect still resolves.
Okay. Is there an instance of what I'm describing that you could do this for, just not with Baron specifically?
So hypothetically, if there is an ignition / like sorcery speed effect, like, so say you play a monster and you have to declare that effect, right? Before your opponent does that, when you have the window to respond, you can activate Snow to summon it and flip it face down before they get to use that sorcery speed / instance or ignition effect.
Okay.
So in that case, it would work. But if there's already an effect going, then no, that it would resolve. So that wouldn't work.
Okay, that's what I was going for. Like you just
Sure. It works in some instances, but not all of them.
Because I'm thinking, like, if your opponent doesn't have a way to stop, I don't even know if you could stop this quick effect, but if your opponent's gonna do something that would lose you the game and then you flip that card over before it can actually do it, isn't that like insane? Is then like you can't, if it goes to like the battle phase, you can't unflip it, right? You have to wait till your next turn. So it's like, it's not even on board.
When
so
something is summoned, yes, if it gets flipped down, like you can't reflip it until the following.
How good? Now you got me thinking here, because like, what if there's like an aura effect that says like your opponent can't use monster effects? Could you use this effect in the graveyard to flip that over, and then this would still go off, and then you have the ability to use your monster effects afterwards? That is an interesting question, but I feel like that's like a cool mechanic rather than something that needs to be banned. Like I wouldn't be like, oh fuck, it's so stupid. Like 7 cards that I don't think this is banned. I think this is just cool. Final answer.
Snow is banned. Fuck! Snow is banned. I will say this is a tricky one. I think there's a decent amount of context you might be missing for this one, but I'll explain. I want to see if you would get there. You were kind of getting there. I think the things you were focusing on aren't the actual reason it's banned, and more of like, it's just kind of in addition to everything else. So flipping the thing face down. Historically, that's always been a very good effect. We call these Book of Moon effects because that's the card that flips something in a face down defense position. Like you said, blocking an attack, great, cool. But also, you could, in the instance like you're saying, you could stop an effect from being activated if it's ignition speed. If your opponent is trying to synchro and they have a tuner and a non-tuner, you can summon Snow, flip the tuner or non-tuner face down. Now they can no longer synchro because those monsters aren't face up. So you actually stop them from going to their synchro play or their Xyz play or whatever thing from the extra deck they're trying to do. They need those monsters to be face up. So being able to flip them face down proactively is actually very strong. But that's not the reason I will say that this card is banned. The main reason that this card is banned is actually the second part of the effect. The fact that it says, if it's in your grave, you can banish 7 other cards to special summon it. First of all, this has no once per turn anywhere on it. So hypothetically, you can do this as many times in a turn as you want. And that sounds like ridiculous to think that you could have that many cards in your graveyard, but there are plenty of cards historically throughout the past that you can load your graveyard up really quickly. And we call these snow decks. And these snow decks would have the ability to use multiple snow activations in a single turn. You're probably wondering why you'd want to do that. Well, the reason is because there are several cards in Yu-Gi-Oh! That have an effect that say, if this card is banished, do X. And I would say for the most part, those cards were kind of hard to trigger, except when they're within their own archetype. But Fairy Tale Snow gave you a very easy outlet that now all of a sudden, if you just banish those cards out of your graveyard, it immediately triggered all of these really powerful effects for these cards that need to be banished in order for their effects to activate. So now you get this immense amount of value out of Snow being able to activate, in addition to the body and the flipping of the face down. There's also cool things you can do. This actually is sort of like the Baron example that I gave you. Let's say you play a guy and activate its effect. Let's say your opponent uses a card that says target a monster your opponent controls, negate its effect, okay? As Chain Link 3, you can chain Snow to banish the monster on your field, and because of that, that opposing card that's trying to negate your card no longer has a valid target. So similar to that Baron example, the effect of that monster will still resolve. So Snow allows you to kind of cheat around these sort of cards that interact with the opponent to stop you from doing things, to make sure your big effects are still going to be able to go off. Being a light monster, like this card is just so much value for what it does. And like you said early on, it's very frustrating to play against. This card is, people love this card and they fucking hate this card. Not to mention it's like super cute, so that doesn't help, right? So yeah, Snow is banned. Very, very insane card. And it's crazy because this was just like a common card that they printed in a set. But I think this one was tough. This one, there's a lot of like hidden interactions and
this
mechanics.
One was like, you're like, all right, the test is going to be on this specific questions. Make sure you study this study guide, and then you get to the test, and it's like from a different class.
All right, I'll simplify it for you here. We'll go back to older cards. Those are more your speed.
Butterfly Dagger Elma. The equipped monster gains 300 attack. When this card is destroyed and sent to the graveyard while equipped, you can return this card to your hand. The equipped monster gains 300 attack. This was banned? When this card is destroyed and sent to the graveyard while equipped, you can return this card to the hand? Why would this be banned? 300 attack is like nothing. I mean, in older Yu-Gi-Oh! That might actually be relevant, because like minion combat seemed to be, as far as I can tell from Legacy of the Duelist, minion combat was definitely the most prominent thing happening. But that's also like, it's based on the anime. It's not like real Yu-Gi-Oh! I don't know how much 300 attack is. Like, why would this be? When this card is destroyed and sent to the graveyard well equipped, you can return this card to the hand. Literally no idea why this would be banned in the first place. Like, how can I tell you if it's still banned if I don't even know why it's banned?
You want me to help you?
Yeah. Well, why is it? Yeah, please. I'm raising my hand.
I'll show you. I'll show you this card.
Oh, thank God. All right, what is this? When equipped cards or card is equipped to this card, destroy the equipped cards. How the fuck does that help me? I don't understand. What? When an equip card / cards is equipped to this card, destroy that equipped card. Okay, hold on. Let me go back. All right, the other card says when the equipped monster gains 300 attack, when this card is destroyed. Oh!
Did you put it together?
So this is like an infinite like attack glitch. Like you just get 300 attack every single time this procs, and because this is like recursive, you can just get like a 1 turn OTK.
Well, the attack is tied to the dagger, so it loses you're halfway there.
Okay.
You want me to give you the third piece?
Yeah,
you want me to give you the third piece? I'll give you the third piece. Here you go.
Have you showed me this card before? It kind of looks familiar. Each time a spell card is activated, place 1 spell counter on this card. When that spell resolves, you can remove 3 spell cards from that card draw. Okay. I mean, like that. You see, like that's pretty good, because now you're drawing a card like infinitely, right? There's no way to stop you from playing as long as you have a mana system. So unless your opponent can interact with the butterfly dagger, then this is just an infinite draw.
Correct.
Is infinite draw good?
Is it? I don't know.
Yeah, it's pretty good. Now you're gonna see, I hate these videos. Because this is obviously very strong. Like, obviously, this is very good. Like, you're drawing multiple cards for 3 cards. That's insane. Like, you're probably winning the game off this. Now you're going to tell me this isn't banned for some fucking reason.
Is that your answer?
No, it's banned. It has to be banned. There's no way it's not. There's no way.
Final answer?
Yes. How could it? Don't fucking say it to me. I swear to God. I'm losing my mind.
This card's fine.
What? How? You tell me you have problems drawing and you have this combo? You can put this in anything. You have a 3-card combo. Sorry, I'm getting angry. Why is this not banned?
I'm actually messing with you. This card is still banned.
You fucking
I just wanted to see your reaction.
I left. Sorry, I have to take a moment. Hold on. Sorry, I'm back.
I'm crying. Okay, so yes, I've showed you the this is what we like to call the butterfly dagger, infinite draw combo. So basically, this is the combo. This is a very old combo. These are all very old cards. I think these were all printed in 2003 for the most part. This combo essentially lets you draw your whole deck, and then you can imagine you play Exodia, you just win the game, right? That's all you have to do. So very old combo, not super difficult to set up. You're kind of just gated by needing to get the right cards, but Gearfried was searchable, which was nice. Dagger was also searchable. Library, I don't think was. So I think that was like sort of the bottleneck of this strategy. But yeah, it was something you could do and just hypothetically win the game immediately. This was not like particularly good. It's not like everyone was doing this, but it was something degenerate you could do if you wanted to just like play an Exodia deck. But because Elma essentially enables infinite loops with cards like Gearfried and like especially nowadays with just like a million other cards, I think Konami just doesn't want to deal with this card existing in the game at all because there's just like so many degenerate things you could theoretically do with infinite loops that they just don't want to like have to design around it with it existing. Could this card come off the list? Probably. I don't like if someone wants to figure out what like crazy FTKs Elma would enable by nowadays standards, please let me know. I think it's way too slow. Old Yu-Gi-Oh didn't have hand traps either. So like that's the thing. Like FTKs are degenerate, but at the same time there's stop gaps in place now to sort of like interact with them where in the old days there was nothing. If your opponent had the combo, they just won automatically. So but yes, you were correct. This card is still banned. It's probably one of those ones that could come off and similar to Time Seal would probably do nothing. But I just wanted to trigger you there, so I'm sorry.
No, you're good. I think I've aged like 20 years off this video. To be honest with you.
Well, we only have a few left. So let's see if you can end strong.
Oh, okay. What is this? Self-destruct button. You can only activate this card while your life points are lower than your opponent's life points, and the difference is 7,000 points or more. Both players' life points become 0. Oh my god. Okay, you have shown me a card. You showed me I can't remember what video it was from, but you did show me something that was kind of like this, where you are able to actually reduce your life points quite a bit.
I did show you that. That was Wall of Revealing Light. Would you like to see that again for a refresher?
Yeah, that'd be fantastic. Actually, if you wouldn't, you'd be so kind. It's a cool card though. Because I think that initially, like, you think that both of you would tie. But I feel like there's another card in the game that says you can't die this turn. Or something along those lines. Yeah,
I will let you know, I don't think that exists.
You activate this card, pay any multiple of 1,000 life points. None of your opponent's monsters with attack equal to this. Yeah, okay. Because that doesn't have a once per turn. Wall of Revealing Light doesn't have once per turn. They're both trap cards, which is extremely interesting. What happens in a tournament setting if you tie? Do both players
go again?
You play the game again? Okay.
It's considered a draw, and you have to play again. So it's like instead of someone having a win, it's like someone has a win and a draw. So you just go again.
See, like in Hearthstone, if people tied in a tournament, you would just count both those decks as a win. Then you move on to the next one. So
yeah. It depends on the end score. So if the match ends in a draw, then like it is considered a draw. But like if, let's say someone wins game 1 and then game 2 is a draw, the person who won game 1 is the winner because they have a win and a draw versus the opponent has a loss and a draw. Because remember, we played best of 3 too. So.
Oh yeah, okay. So Hearthstone's best of 5, and then they would just, if you tie in like those classes are no longer allowed to be played. Like they both count as win. That's interesting.
Yes, you can get draws in your rankings of your scoring. Yes.
Okay, that's interesting.
So you can have 7 wins, 2 losses, and a draw for a record, hypothetically.
This is such an interesting card. This is also begs the question. It's not broken, but is this something that you want in your game? Like in Hearthstone, I feel like if I was going to win a game and they had like a secret that was this, and it was like, haha, you tied, idiot. That's a huge discrepancy in life to pull this off though. But it doesn't matter because if it activates, and you're just upset. How could you abuse this is the question. Both life points become 0.
How could you? What a great question.
Is there a card that says if your life points would become 0, gain 100 life or something along those lines?
I will say no. I don't think that really exists.
Is there any card in this game that
there is? I think there's one. I'm gonna look to see if this works before I send this to you.
Basically, I am just I'm wondering if there's a card in the game that says along the lines of like if you would go to 0 life points, you don't die. Like anything that mitigates this effect.
Does not exist in our game.
So in other words, if this card activates, you will tie the game no matter what.
If it resolves, yes.
Okay, so then how is this abusable? Hold on, what? I could get the concept of like not winning a game suck. Like that would feel unfortunate. I just don't know how you can abuse it if there's not an effect like that. Because like there's cards in Hearthstone that say your hero's like immune this turn, right? So then you could do some pretty like stupid shit because you can't die. But like,
yeah, you can't really work around it because it says both players' life points become 0. So like there's no way you could stack a chain that you can gain life points first, because then if you hit 0, the game automatically ends. So it's like, yeah, and we don't have immune type effects like other games do.
No, I'm like, I feel like I wouldn't want this in the game purely from a gameplay standpoint, not even a balance issue. This is just like a silly card to maybe have in the game. And I think they thought this was funny, but then they're like, wait, this kind of sucks ass if it happens too much. It's a funny gimmick once, and then after that gimmick is done, it's like, okay, this is just annoying. Is that enough to ban something? Like if I'm thinking, okay, like this is actually, speaking of like the Magic Commander stuff, this would be banned in Commander. Like this is a silly ass card to have in Commander. You wouldn't want this in the format. Does Konami care about its players like that?
I am going to plead the fifth on that.
My lawyer told me not to comment. I'll go with they care enough about your player base for this to be banned. Not for gameplay reasons, just from not for balance reasons, gameplay reasons. But I am very curious to hear if there is a gameplay reason or a balance reason why this has to be banned. So,
well, Raren, you avoided self-destructing because you are correct. This card is still banned today. It's actually, like you said, it's purely from a like gameplay perspective, not necessarily a actual functional perspective. So there were decks in the day that their sole purpose was to just keep resolving self-destruct button, and they would just ruin tournament experiences for people because they would just constantly keep forcing draws and the game would never actually like end hypothetically. Yeah. And it was just like not fun, right? It's just like, it's just trolling. It's just going to like troll people, which, okay, you could argue like trolling people depending on like what kind of deck you're playing is fine. But I think this sort of crosses the line a bit too far, and then as Yu-Gi-Oh's age, it's become easier and easier to do this. That this card is banned and probably will stay banned just because it's not like this card serves no purpose other than to troll at the end of the day. Yeah. So yeah, just not a very well designed card at the end of the day. But you got there. You got there. All right, two left. Let's see. This guy's got a lot of text, but I think you'll like this guy once you read him.
Grand Soil the Elemental Lord. All right, hold on. I gotta zoom in. Cannot be normal summon / set. Must be special summon from your hand by having exactly 5 earth monsters in your graveyard. And it cannot be special summoned by other ways. When the it's you know how like facilities will put up like warning signs once something bad happens. They don't do it preemptively. It's only when an accident happens. This is like the perfect example of this. They're like, you have to do it like this, you fucking idiots. We've had problems before. You're not doing this ever again. When this card is special summoned, you can target 1 monster in either player's graveyard. Special summon that target to your side of the field. If this card leaves the field, skip the battle phase of your next turn. When this card is special summoned, you can target 1 monster in either player's graveyard. Special summon that target to your side of the field. If that card leaves the field, skip the battle phase of your next turn. So this is like Monster Reborn with extra steps.
Correct. So I'll give you some context. The Elemental Lords are all of these monsters that embodied the effects of, at the time, banned cards. So Monster Reborn was Grand Soil's effect. And so there's a few others. Moulin Glacia, for those watching, embodied Delinquent Duo. I think Pyrorex embodied Ring of Destruction, if I recall. And the Win one sucks, so we don't talk about the Win one. It may have been Heavy Storm. I'm going to look it up while you're figuring this out.
When this card is special, so okay, 5 earth monsters in your graveyard. We talked about already that getting monsters in your graveyard is actually not very difficult. 5 is not that difficult to get like you need this in your hand, but I'm imagining this is also tutorable. If it's not, then this card's bad most of the time, I guess. Get a Monster Reborn and you get another monster and you don't use your normal summon, and then you also have more resources in your graveyard if earth monsters interact with it. If the card leaves the field, skip the battle phase of your next turn. Can you do this more than once? It doesn't say once per turn, so you could bounce this back to your hand and keep summoning monsters. And I imagine they could all attack before. I think if it's at once per turn, it wouldn't be broken. But the fact is, you could probably. I'm going to assume that you could bounce this enough that you could just kill your opponent, like without even worrying. So I'll go with that.
Final answer?
Yeah.
You got it Right on the nose. Congratulations.
Cool.
That is exactly what happened. Initially, this card was released and didn't get a lot of attention, I'll say. There was a lot of other really powerful cards that came out in the same set as this. But it didn't take long for some of the best minds in the game to figure out that this card was very good. Very, very good for the exact reason you mentioned, is that there is no once per turn on this card. So much so that as time aged and people understood the power of this card, that caught up with it, and Grand Soil, as a result, ended up getting banned. They actually, it's funny you said what you said, they errated it and made it a once per turn, and no one plays it, and now it's at 3, and you know, now it's all fine. So this is one that is like, technically it's legal, but the version I showed you is in our minds banned because you know you can't play it forever. Right. I just thought this was a cool card to show you just conceptually.
Yeah, that's cool.
Grand Soil's neat. Grand Soil's neat. All right, last one, Raren. Nice. Let's see if everything you've learned will come together.
Oh, wait. Did you show me this already, too? I think you
did I?
Victory Dragon. This card cannot use. See, we've done so many of these videos. They all get, like, lost in the vault of my brain. This card cannot be special summoned. To tribute summon this card, you must tribute 3 Dragon-type monsters. If this card attacks your opponent directly and reduces their life points to 0, you win the match. Wait, what? Isn't that every monster in the game? If this card attacks your opponent directly and reduces their life points to 0, you win the match. Am I stupid? It's not every monster in the game?
A duel is not a match. A duel is a game, and a match is 3 duels. And, you know, if it goes to game 3. So
this was banned?
I don't know. Yeah, it has to be. Yeah, it has to
be. I'm going to give them good credit. I'm going to give them credit. This is like a really interesting card. Like, this is kind of fucking sick. Like,
so if you, in the very first game of your match, hit them directly with Victory Dragon, you win the whole match. You don't have to play a game 2 or a game 3. The game is over.
Give me an idea for
the match is over
format I can do. This is very intriguing. I like the design space here. I can see why competitively this would be stupid, because I'm sure you can abuse this, but it's so interesting.
It has some restrictions.
Like, the fact is you have to... Tributing 3 Dragon-type monsters, I'm not sure how difficult that is. But I'd imagine at least in older Yu-Gi-Oh, that's something that would take a little bit.
I will say dragons are one of the most popular types in the game.
So eventually this would get to a critical mass where it's very easy to tribute. And this counts as your normal summon?
Yes, because a tribute summon is your normal summon.
Man, this is so interesting. See, like the thing, this card actually has diminishing returns though as like the match would go on. Because if you don't get a game 1 and it's best at 3, you need to hit it. I guess game 2 is fine too, as long as you're winning. So you need to hit a minimum game 1 or game 2, because game 3, this card's irrelevant in your deck. It's just a monster at that point.
Correct. Yes, I will agree. The longer the match goes on, the worse this card gets. Yes.
This is such an... is it bad?
Cool design though, right?
Yeah,
cool
I
design.
Really like it. Man, it's so... I would be like shocked in a game if I lost to this, but obviously rightfully salty. But I think it's an interesting thing to think about. It's like the golden snitch in Harry Potter. Like, it's just there.
Yeah. That's a good analogy. Yeah.
It's very interesting. I don't know why. Like, so they would ban... This isn't a... There's no way this is a broken card. Like, you'd have to ban this specifically because it led to the competitive scene being not great for the average competitive player, and therefore no one wanted to play it while this card's in the game. I think it's very obvious this card's not broken. It's just unless I'm just not thinking of a way for you to do this consistently, and if it is consistently, then this card obviously needs to be banned for obvious reasons. I'm going to assume it's banned because you could do it consistently. I think the card's cool, but if I'm a competitive Yu-Gi-Oh player and this was happening often, I would not want to play competitive Yu-Gi-Oh, and that's not good for Konami. So they would ban this for like monetary and just play pattern reasons, I guess. I don't think it's objectively broken, but I think I understand why. So yeah, I'll go with it's banned. Please tell me it's not banned. It's so cool.
So Victory Dragon is pretty bad for all intents and purposes.
Okay.
Just because it has such a heavy restriction, it can't be cheated out. It's not hard to special summon dragons to the field and then use your normal summon to get this guy out. But you have to jump through a lot of hoops, right? You have to get the dragons out. You have to get Victory Dragon out. He has to connect with an attack. He has to reduce their life points to 0. It's not like he just has to hit them. He also has to get their life points down to 0. And so... for all intents and purposes, I would say that this card is not very good. Even this, because this is an old card. It looks old. I would say this card is like not even very good. But it is cool. There's also the reason this card is bad is because people can, if they see Victory Dragon hit the field, you're able to concede in Yu-Gi-Oh at any moment. So if you're in game 1 and your life points are 2,300 and they summon Victory Dragon and you see you're about to get smacked by Victory Dragon, you can just concede before they do anything to attack, and now you don't lose to Victory Dragon resolving its effect, and you just go to game 2. The asterisk to that, and I'm going to preface this by saying I did not live in the Asian territories, and so I cannot confirm as to 100% if this is factually accurate. In the Asian version of Yu-Gi-Oh! In the rule set, you were not allowed to concede the game if it was not your turn. This is all from what I've heard historically. So, in the Asian territories, Victory Dragon, if it hits the field, the opponent could not concede. So Victory Dragon would actually resolve and make it so that someone would automatically win the match as a result. That was a difference in the rule sets from my understanding of this. But this is also, it's kind of hard to find this information because it's hard to find old information about Yu-Gi-Oh! Because it's all in Japanese, yada yada. That was a rule that eventually did get changed in the Asian territories. But so Victory Dragon in the Asian territories was way better because of that one difference in the rule set that the opponent could not concede if it was not their turn. And you are correct. Victory Dragon is still banned. But it's, again, I don't think it's necessarily like a very good card. I think it's kind of similar to like Self-Destruct Button, where it's like they kind of just don't want this sort of effect in the game because, like you said, it just like feels bad. And I think, like you said, from like a monetary perspective and from a business perspective, this design does not like mesh very well with what they want players to experience. And yeah, it's just kind of a funny story. But yeah, this card's still on the ban list. This is like one of the ones that everyone's like, just put this, like, make this legal. No one's gonna ever play this unless they're trying to troll, right? Yeah. So, yeah, very interesting card. Very interesting card.
It's very funny. No, that's sick as fuck. I'm not gonna lie to you. If I lost that competitive, I'd be like, "That you deserve that." That's so cool.
It's funny because it's like, that's how I feel too. Like, there are plenty of ways to counter this card happening. Like, if you see your opponent has 3 dragons, if you have any trap card to interact with them, if you have anything to interact, like, this thing's not even that big. It's 2,400 attack, right? It's got so many things in place that it's not good that I feel like if you lose to this, you kind of deserve it. Honestly, like, you should just, like, get good. That's how I feel about it. But
this is arguably the most anime card you've shown me, like, from Yu-Gi-Oh! Like, I feel like if I'm trying to live the Yu-Gi-Moto dream other than maybe like Exodia, like, this is it. Like, this is it. Like, this is the card.
The scenario is like, you lost game 1, you're in game 2, and you're like, you summon Victory Dragon and you just steal victory from your opponent.
Yeah,
and just
it's sick as fuck.
Exactly. Like, I think that should be okay. But, and again, like, if your opponent's not going to concede before you get the attack in, like, that's their fucking fault. I don't know.
They should, honestly, you should make, there should be a rule in Yu-Gi-Oh! That says something along the lines of, like, if you initiate the attack or something, or if this card is summoned on the board, your opponent can't concede. Like,
right, like, if it was built into the card text more, sure. But again, like, so since Asia gets the cards before we do, I think because that was built into the Asian rule set that they're not allowed to concede on the opponent's turn, you didn't have to have that built into the card. So I think that was, like, the idea behind it. And if I'm like off on this, people in the comments, please correct me on like the actual part, but it's something along these lines. And so, yeah, when it came to the TCG, we didn't have the same rule set. And so this card, it just obviously did nothing, but it was actually like banned like very early on anyway. So
dude, that's
just very, very just like funny card to end on, I thought, in terms of things that are still banned that are awful. Yeah, but very iconic card too. Everyone like reads this and they're like, this is so fucking crazy, right?
Yeah, that's not in the anime though, right? Like, that's just a card they
No.
Okay, interesting.
Well, because in the anime they don't play like best 2 of 3 either. It's all best of 1.
Yeah,
so.
You know what? Now that you say that, it's really interesting because like I just finished watching the first season.
Oh, okay.
Because I did it for like the video I was making, and I find it very interesting how it doesn't translate at all to like what it actually sounds like you played real life, like the Yu-Gi-Oh! Animes.
Correct.
And like, it's interesting how they draw these anime, they draw the really intense battles for like 40 minutes. Like the casual ones are like 5 seconds if they're going for like a flashback or something, and then you have one that was like the Weevil Underwood one versus Yugi is like 3 episodes long, like almost. And it's just funny to me how they keep pulling shit out of their ass as the match keeps going. But it's interesting how like this card wouldn't be in the game, because I feel like, or the show I should say, because it's like the perfect, literally the most anime card you've shown me. Like, I don't know how else to describe it. It's very
I
interesting.
mean, there are other things that they play in the anime that, like, sort of embody this type of, any card can turn the tide of battle, right? So I don't think they need this card necessarily. They do it in other ways all the time.
There was, I forget what battle it was, but there was one where it was like Yugi was like, my dark magician grew older and therefore it had
the
more
Dark
attack.
Sage.
And I was like, what the fuck is this guy talking about?
Because of the time wizard that Joey used.
Yeah,
I know what you're
was like,
talking about.
What
Yep.
the fuck? Like, I thought that was
That's
so
a card.
funny.
That's a card.
Interesting. I thought that was funny.
So guys, that's going to wrap it up for another video. I really hope you all enjoyed. Let's go ahead and shout the patrons for all of their continued support. So shoutouts to Shout1317, Tim00x3, MBT Play Medolce, Moto, Cameron L. Smith, The Synchro Guy, Pony Stark, Dan the Man Hoban, Little Fadeleaf, Draconic, Dylan Rare Hunter, JW11860, Flannel Daddy, literally all of the guinea pigs, Cheeks McLapperty, Stolfin Amethyst, MBT Cancel Bio Community soon, Cancel Bio Committee soon, Cancel Bio Players soon, Wonder Waffle, MBT and Nimnims, One Boxer Brief Fueled Night of Passion, Daniel Howell, Electrician of the Ice Barrier, Astro Random, Arco, and the Nova 129. Thank you guys so much again for watching, and we will see you next time.